section. So hello, everybody. Welcome, as they say at the Global Chamber, good afternoon, good evening. And here we are. Our guest presenter today is from Liverpool, England. So it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon for him. And it is my great privilege to introduce to you Colin Scotland. He's a renowned marketing coach known for his empathetic approach and his unique blend of cutting-edge AI technology with human-centric strategies. 2 years ago, while prepping for a podcast, I listened to a previous guest, which was Colin, and I was so impressed with his sincerity and expertise that I reached out and I joined one of his marketing mastermind groups that I have greatly benefited from his expertise. So prepare to be enlightened today as we dive into this transformative approach to catalyze business and personal growth. So welcome, Colin.
What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Connie.
You're welcome. And then I'm going to monitor the chat. So Colin's going to go ahead and start his presentation here. And then we do have times for questions and at the end. So I'll monitor that. So it's all yours, Colin. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's delightful to be here. So I'm really hoping that today just opens your eyes, regardless of your level of experience with ChatGPT. It just opens your eyes to some of the possibilities of how this literal world-changing tool is shaping the world that we live in. It never ceases to amaze me, the stuff that it's capable of and the beautiful things that we can achieve with it when we use it in the right way. And so that's really the purpose of today's talk, is to look at prompt engineering, specifically how you can use ChatGPT to be better, to do more, to be more, to achieve more. And that's really my goal for this talk today. Before I dive in and share the screen, there will be a bit of I'll share what I think is some of the critical elements that you need to understand in order to get the most out of the technology. I'll do a bit of hands-on playing with ChatGPT just to kind of see how some of these things work in practice. And then we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if there's anything specific, feel free to put them in the chat. And Connie, you know how I roll. I'm more than happy to be interrupted and we can see where the conversation leads as needs be. Okay, awesome. So does anybody have any questions before we start? We good?
I think you're good to go.
Okay, awesome. So if you do have a question while I'm presenting, then use the raise hand function in Zoom. It's a really good way because I'll see the little yellow hand on the screen then, and Connie's keeping a good eye on that. But okay, let me share my presentation. The notes, the slides of the presentation are available, so you don't need necessarily to take down the things that are on the slides. I will make these available to you at the end of the session. So you okay with me sharing these through you, Connie, Doug?
Yes,
at the end?
yes, please.
Yeah.
And then we'll share them with everyone. Yes.
Wonderful. So let me know if you can see the slide screen.
Yes, we got it.
Beautiful. So the goal really is to help you unlock success with ChatGPT. It's as simple as that, right? I'm not going to go into all of the details of what ChatGPT is. I'm not going to give you all of that background information. I'm not going to share with you what large language models are and how they work and all of that. The previous session that I watched, thanks for sharing that with Doug, Colin did a stellar job of outlining all of that. So I think the goal of today is to help you leverage the tool and get the most out of it. And I'm going to give you the things that will allow you to do exactly that and nothing else. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of how prompt engineering works, and then we're just going to get hands-on. I'm going to show you some examples that will allow you to take however you're using this tool right now. And I've had the great privilege of working with people that live in ChatGPT every day, doing their work inside of it, and people who've never even heard of it and just about playing with it. Everybody levels up with these things that I'm going to share with you today. Everybody can benefit regardless of your level of experience with the technology. So just briefly before we dive in, I'm Colin Scotland. I am in a town just outside of Liverpool in England. I'm married, 2 grown-up kids. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I just learned to solve the Rubik's Cube for the first time in my 49 years on this planet 2 weeks ago. And I am thrilled with that accomplishment. I've built multiple businesses online. I built an e-commerce business to £4 million sterling in revenue. That business went bust. I've since built multiple 6-figure coaching practices and businesses. And I spend my time now helping people. My calling is to help people to shine brighter in the world. When they shine brighter, I shine brighter as a result. And the way that I do that right now is through a combination of coaching, masterminds, and more recently with ChatGPT. I'm able to help people in ways that I could never have helped them previously, and to get to results that would have taken an age to get to, we're able to hit in hours, minutes, days. We're really compressing timelines with what's possible, and it's directly because of the use of ChatGPT, the right use of ChatGPT. So that's me. The essence of prompt engineering is really good inputs equal good outputs. So if we give vague instructions, we're going to get vague outputs back. If we give smart instructions, then we're going to get better results. That's the essence of what we're talking about today. And I'm going to go into some of the detail of exactly how to do that. When you give good instructions, the AI becomes like rocket fuel for what you do. So I alluded to the fact of how my coaching practice has just literally skyrocketed in terms of the results I'm able to help people to get to. And it's because of a good understanding of prompt engineering. It's because of the things that the AI allows to achieve. Remember, we're taking the collective knowledge of humanity and we're leveling the playing field with AI. So you're able to take account of all of that collective knowledge. I'm an avid reader, right? And I'm always reading multiple books at any one time. There's no way on earth I could read all day, every day for the rest of my days, and I would barely scratch the surface of the collective knowledge of humanity, even if that was just all in one specific area. With AI, with ChatGPT, you're able to tap in to all of that knowledge and make connections that you would never have made before. And so you'll see when we get into the examples how new, fresh, never before known or seen or thought of insights really come to the fore. And from a business perspective, I love that phrase, better, faster, cheaper. There's an adage that you pick two, right? Which two do you want? Do you want it fast? Do you want it better? You can't have all three. You can't also have it cheaper. With AI, you really can have better, faster, cheaper. So 3 key concepts. I'm not going to get technical here. Well, not too technical. But you need to understand these 3 key concepts in order to instruct ChatGPT in the right way. The first one is something called tokenization. And I'm going to share some visual examples that will help you to understand what these things are. If we say to ChatGPT, write me an email about X, ChatGPT breaks that sentence down into component parts. So it'll look at the word write, it'll look at the word me, it'll look at the word an, it'll look at the word email, etc. And it breaks these things down into what it calls tokens. So all of the text that you put in to ChatGPT is considered both as a whole sentence, but also as an individual word. Not only that, it links the words to something that's called semantic vectors. So each word has, think of it like a score, like a weighting, or a space in a space in the world, right? So in the world of language, so the word tiny, the word small are very similar, but they're slightly different. They're nuanced and different. And so when it comes to the way that ChatGPT processes those two words, they will have different values assigned to them, different semantic vectors. So they live in different spaces. The word tiny will live in a different space to the word small. What that means for you is, if you write a prompt using the word small, and then you substitute the word tiny, you're going to get completely different results, completely different results. So the words that you use matter massively. And this is interesting for, we're all used to communicating now, typing on the keyboard. Hey, Connie, lovely to see you today. Can you send me a recap of X, Y, Z? We barely think about the language that we're using when we're communicating. And so it's just a reminder that every word matters. Every word makes a big difference. And then the last one is temperature. This is interesting. So we're talking today about using the text interface of ChatGPT. We're not talking about using the API. When you're using the text interface of ChatGPT, you can't directly affect temperature. Temperature is a scale between 0 and 1. And this is how ChatGPT responds. So if ChatGPT responds with a temperature of 0, it's going to be very cold, very logical, very conservative in its response. The opposite end of that scale is, so it's 0 and 1, right? The opposite end of that scale, ChatGPT is going to be like a hippie on amphetamines, right? It's going to be wacky, off the all over the place. It's going to be very, very creative, very outside of the box in terms of how it produces the results. This is important because whilst you can't directly affect temperature, your use of language can directly affect the outputs. So if you say, write an email with an empathetic tone, and we use the word empathetic, then it'll alter the temperature of the response that ChatGPT gives you. It makes a massive difference, massive difference. Okay, so that's the schooling part over. That's the technical elements of prompt engineering. I want to now show you how it makes a difference. And what I've done is I've used a image generative AI called Midjourney to visualize the difference that your word choice makes. And so with those three concepts, and with this knowledge and these methods that I'm going to share with you, you'll have everything you need. And I promise you, your results from the AI will be massively improved. They will be night and day. So in Midjourney, I typed the word astronaut. That was it, nothing else. I gave it the word astronaut. And these are the images that AI has given us as a result of that phrase. And then I typed the word horse, and it gave us these horse images. And then I asked it to imagine an astronaut on a horse. So if you look at that prompt, what I've done, we've still got the word astronaut, we've still got the word horse, but I've added on a horse. So remember semantic vectors, remember tiny, small, remember those variances, remember those differences. The word on and the word a has collectively been pulled together, and the AI has interpreted that in this way. If I put astronaut and a horse, the only difference in this prompt and the previous one is one word. So we've substituted the word and, the word on for the word and you see the difference in how the AI has interpreted our instruction. Remember, good instruction equals good output. So if we're very specific in telling ChatGPT what we want, we're always going to get better results. Write me an email. Well, an email about what? To whom? What tone? What subject? What topic? It's always going to create variance in the outputs. And then I removed the words altogether and put astronaut horse, right? So now the tokenization process has worked in such a way where it has put those two words together and it's seen it as a whole. So now it thinks that I want an astronaut horse. Can you see the difference? It's subtle, but massively impacts the outputs. I've shown you this in pictures just to give you that experiential understanding, that visualization of how this works. We're talking about instructing AI with text, with words, the choice of those words matters massively. I can't stress enough how important it is that you use the right words. And the difference between and on can make such an impact in what you get out of the chat. So consider every instruction that you give to chat. Okay. 4 takeaways. I'm going to go into some methods that talk about definite methods that you can use to instruct the ChatGPT every time. But there are 4 key components of a really good prompt. You have to be specific. So rather than just saying an astronaut, you can see here I've put astronaut racing a horse along a beach, right? So I've given it specificity. You have to give context. So if we go back to the email example, an email about what? An email to whom? An email with what kind of tone? What's the goal of the email? What do we want them to think? What do we want them to feel? What do we want them to do as a result of receiving this communication? And that's giving ChatGPT context. ChatGPT is hugely intelligent because remember, it's been trained on the collective knowledge of humanity, but it's not a mind reader. It doesn't know exactly what you want to get from it with the instruction that you're giving it. It's also an expert at recognizing patterns. So one of the things that you'll notice, this is really interesting, right? So if we say to ChatGPT, write me an email to Connie, thanking her for allowing me to speak to the Global Chamber today, that result will be entirely different to if I say, hey, ChatGPT, I would love for you to write me an email to Connie expressing my gratitude for her having me as a guest on the Global Chamber today. Thank you, ChatGPT. You'd be surprised at the salutation and the different way that you write that prompt, how it impacts well, you wouldn't be surprised because I've just told you how those words matter, right? But you see an actual night and day difference in the results that ChatGPT spits out. That's because it's an expert at recognizing patterns. What you put in, it will try and mirror back to you in a pattern. And that's useful to know because you can give ChatGPT examples. I'd like to write a headline for my new product. Here are some examples of perfect headlines: outcome, benefit, solution. If you train ChatGPT in that way with examples, it can replicate those patterns beautifully. And then the final one is just have fun, like play with it, iterate, test. It's going to give you so much better results if you are playful and you approach this in a way to say, okay, that was okay, but I think you could be more concise. Can you elaborate on point 2? Can you give me 3 more benefits? Can you do this? Can we focus on this section? And I would encourage you just to play in conversation with ChatGPT to get to those better level results. Okay. 3 methods I'm going to walk through with you. I've played with lots of these different methods. The first one is very simple, very direct. The second one builds on that. And the third one is the way that I would recommend that you focus on prompting ChatGPT every time you sit to prompt it. Let's walk through them in turn. First one is explicit. So you basically give clear, direct, concise instructions to ChatGPT. Give me 3 ways that I can boost my revenue in the next 4 weeks. Write me a short follow-up message to Connie, thanking her for allowing me to be a speaker on the Globinar, right? So you give direct instructions and you get direct responses back. That's simple, isn't it? Right? Super simple. The next method is a little bit more involved, and it's called the APE method. Action, purpose, expectation. I'd like you to list the main selling points of our service, the goal, the purpose. We want to convey its unique advantages over our competitors so that our sales team can effectively use them in their pitches. So can you see now how we've gone from astronaut to astronaut on a horse riding along the beach, and we've given that extra level of context, specificity, and expectation to the AI. So now when AI goes into its vast knowledge base, it's able to make connections that are more likely to be the types of connections that we're expecting. Okay. And then this is a method I've created called the STAR method. That's the reason I recommend it, right? But it really does work wonders. So it's essentially sharing the situation. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm a AI marketing coach, and I've just given a talk to a group of lovely sales professionals and leaders from around the world. And I would love for you to write me a follow-up email to the people that attended the presentation. I'd like the email to have 3, so that was the task, right? I'd like the email to have a compelling subject line that uses an emoji. I love an emoji that uses an emoji. I'd like it to have a welcome sentence. I'd like there to be a recap of the main points of the presentation, a link to the presentation notes, and then empathetic ending, that invites them to stay in touch with me. So I've given it an appearance, but I've also refined what I'm expecting from ChatGPT. It's quite complicated, really, but if you think about it in its essence, it's ridiculously simple as well. And we've gone the extra mile in instructing ChatGPT as to what it is that we're looking to get, what we're looking to get out of it. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Was that a question?
Yes, I have a question. This is Dale.
Hey, Dale.
So, you have numerous requests. How do you actually implement this? Do you ask it one at a time? Are you separating by commas or colons or whatever? How do you actually implement it?
So if we take this one, for example, let's jump in. Can you see my Chrome window?
Yes.
So to take this example, what we would do is we would essentially, I've just put those word task and appearance into to help you visualize how we think about that. So I would say, I would essentially take the bits in the quotes. So the prompt would be: a prospect inquired about our new product. That's the situation. Summarize its key features. That's the task. In a compelling yet concise way, would be the appearance and refinement in using simple non-technical language. Does that help, Dale?
Sorry, take mute off. Yes, that does. Thank you.
Okay, so you're basically putting it together in a single prompt. Now, when we talked about the 4 takeaways of this presentation, that the final one was iterate and reiterate. So remember, this is just a starting point, in a stepping stone in a conversation. ChatGPT at this moment, with that example, ChatGPT doesn't know what our product is. They don't know what it doesn't know what the features are. So in this instance, we would have to iterate and elaborate on the specifics to help it. Okay. Any other questions before we move on?
So Colin, what if you just hit enter and let's see what it comes up with?
Let's do it. So it'll probably ask for more context.
Let's see.
So Colin, as it's doing that, I have a question. I assume the same prompt methodology can work on the whole plethora of platforms that have merged since ChatGPT became more apparent to most of us.
Yes, correct. It can. Alex, was it? Yeah. Adrian, sorry, Adrian.
It's my North American accent.
Yes, the prompts can be used. These concepts work across platform, whether you're on Bard, Claude. Sorry?
I'm not showering today.
Oh
I'm
my
showering.
Lord.
No.
So Doug, can you mute people?
Sorry, I thought that was a question. Yeah, but basically the prompts will work across different platforms. What you'll find though is that if you use the concepts that we're talking about today, the 4 key elements of a good prompt, the idea that we've just looked at with the astronaut and the horse, when you have that skill, you will undoubtedly get night and day results in any of the AI platforms. The prompts that we're going to play with in a second, I've tested and iterated specifically in ChatGPT. So the results can be a little variable across the different platforms. ChatGPT has 2 versions. It has version 3.5 and then version 4. The version 4 is by far more intelligent. It creates much better connections between information I've found in my testing. So that's the recommended one to use right now, but you can get amazing results from all of them. Okay. All right, let me jump back into this. So every time I sit to ChatGPT, before I use some of the prompts that I'm going to share with you in a moment, I would literally have star in my head, right? Hey, ChatGPT, I would like you to assume the role of a sales professional. That's the situation, right? And help me craft a compelling narrative for our sales page of our product and service. Craft a compelling narrative is the task. I would like it to follow best practice in writing sales pages. So now, by saying best practice in writing sales pages, ChatGPT is going to draw on all of its knowledge of collective humanity, remember, and it's going to pull in the very best possible elements of a sales page. So we don't need to know necessarily what that looks like. And start by, so now we're going to refine that prompt, right? Start by listing all of the key components of a compelling, high converting sales page. So that's the refinement. We've not asked it to create the entire page in one go. We've just asked it to start by giving us an outline. And then if this was a live conversation, we've started with the star method and now we just continue to iterate and reiterate. This is great, ChatGPT, but shouldn't we have a subheadline? Should we have a benefits section? Should we have FAQs, right? And this is where we start to, the AI acts as an accelerant for our creative process as well. So it really is quite a beautiful thing when you approach it in that way. The star method is by far and away the one that I've had the best results with. Yeah, and that's not just because it's the one that I've created, right? Test it for yourself. So then the idea here is that with the right prompt, you can essentially get better outputs. Remember, good inputs equal good outputs. The better you're able to instruct the AI, the better results you're able to get, the better outputs you're able to get. So essentially you can be faster, better, cheaper in all areas of what you do. Now I've got some examples specifically for the process of sales that I'd love to share with you. And it's the reason that I've put a lot of time and effort recently into creating something called the ChatGPT Prompt Vault. And it's essentially a collection of carefully curated prompts that allow you to achieve a specific outcome. So you've seen all of the difference there just by adding on a horse as opposed to and a horse at the very beginning, the difference that makes. Well, if you take that into something quite comprehensive, right? So we want to write a marketing plan. We want to understand how our potential clients might feel about our product or service. We want to understand what's the best way to get a competitive advantage in this marketplace. We want to understand some quite complex things. Then the concise method, the direct instruction method of prompting tends not to work as well in that instance. So this is where the star method will get you the better results because you're able to be more elaborate in how you prompt ChatGPT. Now, quick word of warning, the tokenization element of ChatGPT limits how much it can read. So you can't paste War and Peace into ChatGPT and it will, it won't be able to read it and digest it. It'll know about War and Peace. That was an example, right? But you can't paste thousands and thousands and thousands of words in there because there is something called a token limit. And so there are limits on the amount of data that it can process. There are new and exciting ways to play with data specifically, but right now we're just talking about a code interpreter, plugins, loads of fun things that are coming out and on the horizon. But right now we're just talking about how you put good quality inputs in to get amazing inputs out. And I want to play with one now just to show, one or two just to show you. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm going to go back to here. Okay, so this is the prompt vault that I've just shown you a picture of there. And essentially, this is a collection of 2,000 prompts that I've created specifically from my experience as a marketing coach, as a business growth coach, building my own business. And I wanted to play with one that I think is quite fun. And it's this one, defining objections. So in sales, it's really useful to understand what are the things that help people to buy? What are the things that stop people from saying yes? What are the things that could hold them back? So inside of this prompt, I've just got, I'm not going to go through the instructions. I'll share this prompt with you, right? But I'm going to put it into ChatGPT and we're going to have a play with it now. So I'm going to copy the prompt. It's quite a comprehensive prompt, this one. And I'm going to start a new chat with ChatGPT. I'm going to paste the prompt in. So Dale, just to reiterate what you were saying before, this prompt has all of the elements of STAR, but they're all in one single prompt. I've not broken them down into step by step. You can do that. There's another method where you can do what's called prompt chaining, where you can link one to another, to another, to another. It's quite complex. I didn't want to go in. We've only got an hour, right? So I just had to give you like what I consider to be the essential steps of getting you to that place of being unlock the power of ChatGPT. So we need a product or service. Any suggestions? Anybody got one that you'd like to use? Feel free, shout it out. First come, first serve. Shout out a product or service.
Positive intelligence coaching.
Who's it for?
For salespeople.
Sales professionals?
Yes.
Sales leaders?
Sales leaders.
Okay. So now what we're able to do is we're able to leverage that knowledge that we talked about, because we've understood how to prompt ChatGPT to get some quite phenomenal information out. So I'll let it carry on writing, but essentially we can utilize this information to tailor our approach to selling positive intelligence, right? So I'll let it continue its prompt, and then we'll just go back through the beginning. So what this has done now is this prompt is all about defining objections, like possible objections that potential clients might have. So if you look, that's the situation and the task. And this is like how we want it to appear, and a refinement. It's kind of melded, the STAR method melded into one, a bit of an advanced application of the STAR method. But essentially, this is identifying the things that might put people off, or the questions that people would have. So if we were marketing positive intelligence coaching now, we would make sure that everything we say and do addresses the cost and value question, the time investment question, the efficacy of positive intelligence, how we measure success, the necessity of it. I'm a sales professional. I'm doing really well. Do I need this? These are the questions that we may or may not have already thought about around our product or service. So right away, you've got a veritable gold mine of information that you can leverage to position your offer in a way that's going to only but serve to convert more people to your product or service. So Connie, how do you see that? Is that, you understand this market, right? So what's your interpretation of that as the expert?
Well, it is very comprehensive, and any salesperson that's selling anything needs to know this. And it's amazing that it requires us to think a little bit deeper and then use positive intelligence to formulate how we're going to address those objections. So what I'm going to do is, who here has a product or service? Now, Dale, I know you are a CPA that handles global CPA works. So Dale, would it be helpful for him? And would you be open to having Colin do what he did for positive intelligence for your work?
Of course.
Okay, so Colin, would you just do a redo and then
Of course, yeah. Let's do it.
Dale, exactly what is the description?
Of course, it could be lots of things. In general, just for Colin's edification, it's a accounting firm, full service accounting firm. So it could be tax, it could be like financial statements, audits. But to narrow it down, how about international tax consulting?
International tax consulting. And who's the target audience, Dale?
Individuals that live or work internationally or multiple countries.
I'll fix my typo in a second. Oh, incidentally, little tip for you. Typos don't matter too much in ChatGPT. It's an interesting insight because there I've Grammarly's fixing that for me. Look, but see, I've mistyped the word individuals and I've mistyped the word multiple. I'm a little dyslexic. It doesn't make much of a difference. ChatGPT will recognize that as a derivative of multiple. So you don't need to be too strict in terms of the spelling mistakes. This is great for me because I make spelling mistakes all the time, as you've just seen. Okay, let me hit that. Let's see what it comes up with for international tax consulting for individuals that live or work internationally or in multiple countries. Here we go. So this is quite context specific. If you look, knowledge of specific tax laws, reliability and trustworthiness, because you're dealing with confidential and sensitive matters. Are there relevant security measures in place to protect personal and financial information? Certification and experience, potential for audit. I mean, this list is just phenomenal, right? So if you think about all of these things, this essentially becomes a tick list for your potential clients in order for them to say yes to your service. So how do you demonstrate all of these things in your marketing? How do you demonstrate that the cost is justified, that you have specific knowledge, that you are reliable and trustworthy, that you, you're good at communicating, you make, that's speaking to so here we go. That's speaking to a deeper seated need that your clients will have around feeling comforted and feeling in control of their life, their business, their finance. And so communication and accessibility, here is where I would ask ChatGPT to elaborate on the emotional state of somebody that is looking at, that is worried about language barrier, communication. Tell me more about how they're feeling. Tell me how that is expressed in the language that they use, and how can we address that in content? So can you see how now we've iterated based on this basic prompt, and we're just taking this is next level, right?
Yeah, I'd say that looks very spot on too. After 30 plus years of doing this, I would say that was an excellent answer.
So that took us what, 30 seconds to do?
Yeah, it would probably have taken me a year to come up, be that precise and touch all those things.
And we could literally we could do this until the cows come home, you know, with business after business after business. The result is always the same because of this, because the prompt is engineered in a way that elicits exactly what we want out of the technology. So the words that, like I said at the beginning, good inputs equal good outputs. The words that you use make all of the difference, The word on and the word and in that astronaut and horse picture, right? That hopefully serves to just drive home that point of how much of a difference this makes. We don't stop there. That's one prompt, right? So in this
Colin, can I just pause you there a minute? Gabriella has a question.
Okay.
Gabriella.
No, Connie, it's about that. You said that if someone else wanted to participate,
Oh,
if
she
there's
wanted
time,
to-
I can do it.
Oh,
If-
another, if we have time, she wants an
Yeah.
example of her company. And then also Tricia wanted to know, do you pay for these programs?
So I pay for ChatGPT. I pay for the plus version of ChatGPT because that's the way that you get access to what's called GPT-4, which is the most powerful version of the AI. This is like it. 3.5 is okay. It's okay, but it's like asking a question. If we ask that same question that we've just done for Dale and for Connie, if we ask that question of GPT 3.5, we're not going to get as considered and as insightful information back. So it's definitely worth paying for the plus version simply for GPT-4. On high leverage tasks like the ones that we're playing with here today, it's worth every penny. If it was
$20,
it's
$20
yeah.
US.
$20 US a month, it's phenomenal. The example prompts that I'm sharing with you, this is one of my digital products. So this is something I sell, and I'm just sharing some of the prompt. Well, that was one of the prompts out of the 2000 that I sell inside of this vault. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Trish, that answers. It's okay. Thank you.
No worries. So should we do the other example? Are we okay for time? Yeah, but let's do the third example, and then I just want to take this to the next stage, the next level again, as if we've not already smashed a few ceilings with what we've done in 30 seconds, right? So was it Trish? Do you want to give me your product or service?
That's a Gabriella.
Gabriella.
Oh, Gabriella, sorry, my apologies.
I want to do, I work in mining.
Mining.
Yeah. So I want to know about investors. If, how investors choose to invest in a project.
So can you tell me what the solution is? Can you give me like a sentence that describes here's a thing for you. Actually, let me look at this. So one of the interesting ways that you can instruct ChatGPT, and if you don't already have this, in sales and networking, they call it your elevator pitch, right? So I am A, I help B to do C with D, right? So who are you? How do you help people? Who do you help? And in what way? So we need to have that level of specificity to be that to get those level of insights, right? So if we're very general with the insight, we're going to get a very general response back. Does that make sense, Gabriella?
Yes. So let's change.
Okay.
I am a consultant firm that helps mining suppliers to sell their products in Mexico, the USA, and Canada.
Okay. Let's see what it comes up with. Unclear market expertise. Potential clients might question the depth of your knowledge of the multiple of these three countries. Is there a proven track record? So one of the interesting things, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Aristotle's work, Rhetoric, the Art of Persuasion, but when it comes to persuading somebody, there are three elements of this. It is pathos, ethos, and logos. And pathos is emotional connection. So we need them to emotionally believe that we can deliver results. We need them to feel like we're the right people for them. But then there's an element of ethos, and ethos is basically credibility. So do we have a track record? This is why you'll see testimonials, social proof, case studies. You'll see success stories plastered everywhere because it hits that ethos element of pathos, ethos, and logos. So this, to me, Gabriella, is a real testimony to the power of how you how you shout and be a voice in your field, demonstrating that knowledge and that understanding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So language and cultural barriers, regulatory compliance, competition and established firms, lack of local presence. You guys can read all of that, right? I don't need to read it out to you. But essentially what you're seeing here is it's a route map to growth for you, Gabriella, for your business. So if I was your marketing guy right now, I'd be saying, okay, Gabriella, what we need to do is we need to create content around all of these areas. We need to make sure that we're addressing these in our marketing and our messaging. And we need to make sure that we are perfectly aligned with hitting all of these checkpoints for our potential clients. And again, what, 25 seconds? It's just one.
Wow.
It's just one,
great.
right? It's just one. So it doesn't stop there. What you can do then is you can, remember we talk about iteration, reiteration. This genuinely is an Alice in Wonderland, right? And no matter how far down the rabbit hole you go, you can always go further. So what you can do with this, you could say, okay, like we said with Dale's example about the emotional need for stability and comfort, that they know they're going to get communication from you. They're going to be easy to contact you, even though you're in different time zones. Address the elephant in the room. So one of the things that we could do here is say, look, suggest ways that we can address all of these things in content, and ask ChatGPT to come up with that. We don't need to come up with that ourselves. We get the ideas from ChatGPT and then iterate. So let's just do it, right? Suggest ways we can address each of these objections with content. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say output the results in a table. So that's that's using the first method, right? Direct, concise, and direct instructional. And now what ChatGPT is, it will summarize the objections. These are yours that we're using here, Gabriella. Hope that's okay. And it will give us a potential content strategy to overcome these objections. Language and cultural barriers, unclear market expertise. So here, look, case studies, testimonials, success stories, showcasing the ethos, the credibility of team members and your experience in these industries and these regions. So you've basically got a beautiful content marketing strategy for the whole business in what, 10 seconds? It's gold. It literally is. You've got I can't tell you the power that you've got at your fingertips with this tool when you instruct it in the right way. So many people I come into contact with, they bounce in their chairs when I'm showing them this stuff because they're seeing potential for themselves, for their business. Helpful, Gabriella?
Yeah, thank you. So the key is to instruct the right way.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Couldn't have said it better. Yes. The key is definitely to instruct the right way. So then you're welcome. I'm not going to go into yes, sorry, Connie, go on.
Colin, can you copy and paste these for Dale and Gabriella and get them to me so that I can get this to them? And that would be helpful. So yeah, when you're complete here,
okay,
that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll share. What I'll do is I'll share the chat, and then that'll send you to this page where we've created this together, and you'll be able to add it to your own, either copy and paste it or add it to your own ChatGPT. Now, look, that was one. I just picked an example that I think's quite impressive, right? Because it relates to sales, with this having a professional sales leaders focus. There are an infinite number of things. We talked about the elevator pitch. I am A, I help B to do C with D. You can have ChatGPT work on that. You can have ChatGPT speak in your language, your tone, your phraseology, the words that you use, the structure that you use to write. There's an infinite number of things that you can do. It's just mind blowing. And I'm getting so excited by this stuff. I'm adding dozens of these things each week as people go, oh, we could use it to do this. We could use it to do that. One quite fun one is this sales simulator. So I created this prompt to act as a training aid. It's quite a big prompt, so I'm not going to go through it in detail. But essentially what it does is it has ChatGPT act as a game. So ChatGPT would act as the potential for our organization here, Gabriella, right? The potential for the consultancy. And it would, in a conversation, say, yeah, but I'm considering going with one of your competitors. I'm not sure that you guys have got the expertise. So it will have a conversation just as you would in a sales environment, and you can practice overcoming objections. So this Vault is a paid product of mine, right? I've run these prompts many times. I was trying to convince it to buy the Vault. And in the end, it was saying it has to go and consult with his business partner before it makes a purchase. Right? It was really funny. But the idea of that particular prompt is that you get to practice articulating the value that you bring to the table. So whether that's you, whether that's your team, there really are so many ways that you can implement this. So if you think about that as a process, that could be training of any form. It could be a learning experience of any form. So there are an infinite number of applications of this. It is literally mind-blowing. I wish we had time to go through more, but obviously we're just limited on what we can do.
So Colin, we are, time here, and then we do have let's see if we can do a quick request here.
Yep.
Where Dwight says, I need to write in a tender response to a company's experience. He put it in chat.
Let's have a look.
It says, if I need to write in a tender response on a company's experience, capabilities, and added value, this tool could be useful. What would I need to prompt the tool in terms of detail?
Okay, so quick question for you, just to clarify. Do you have the tender in a PDF format?
Yes.
Right. So what I would do in that instance then, Dwight, is let me show you. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I would encourage you to do is to start a new chat and use the plugins feature of ChatGPT. This again is a paid feature. You can do it either with Code Interpreter or with plugins. I would recommend at the moment, we'll try both and see what the difference is. But essentially, you go to the plugin store and you activate one of the Chat with PDF plugins. And what that'll allow you to do is to upload your PDF into this prompt and ask it to create you can ask it to create a summary, write an interpretation, create a cover letter, and then you can further instruct once it's got the information in the tender. Does that make sense?
Okay.
What you could do, this is interesting. So one of the things I do with certain documents is I'll ask it to write me a summary of the key benefits of this I do it with like lead magnets or things that people download as a PDF. You could do the very same with this tender. Highlight the top 3 outcomes that this company will get if they say yes to this tender. And now incorporate those into an email for me that is empathetic, warm in tone, and without being salesy, but still hugely compelling and hugely persuasive. So see the words I've used in that prompt: hugely compelling, hugely persuasive, without being salesy. So back to the very simple example, astronaut on a horse. Language matters, word choice matters. Does that help?
Well, all I can say is I wish I had this conversation about 2.5 weeks ago, because I had to prepare something like this about 2.5 weeks ago, and I had to pretty much put it together the old-fashioned way. So at any rate, this is helpful for going forward.
Thank you. Okay, we've got 5 minutes, and I am so grateful. I learned a lot. any burning questions that you really want to get the answer to, I have put in chat Colin's vault over there. Any questions?
Connie,
Yes.
one of the concepts at the beginning of this conversation were things other than ChatGPT. Are there other solutions, technology solutions we should also be taking a look at?
From an AI similar to ChatGPT, Doug?
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
I've heard that ChatGPT actually may not be the best, but it was one of the first ones. And so what are some of the ones that you're keeping an eye on?
Okay, so Google's Bard AI. There's a new one called Claude, which is actually doing better than ChatGPT in certain testings, and it's free to play with and use. And then Bing has actually implemented ChatGPT into its own. And Notion has a really powerful AI. I don't know if any of you guys use Notion anyway, then Notion's AI is especially powerful. In all of the tests that I've done, ChatGPT 4 still performs better than any of those in the tests that I've run. But obviously I'm moving those circles. There's people having lots of different experiences with all the different AIs, right? Just with reading books, there's a limit to how much of this stuff you can consume and play with. But they're the main ones that I've got my eye on at the moment, Doug. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would your recommendation then be just move ahead with ChatGPT and just kind of stay aware of the other ones?
As of today, stay aware of those other ones that I've mentioned. They're the main ones. See, if you'd have asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have mentioned Claude, but that's just come to the fore in the last 2 weeks. This is how fast moving this environment is. So right now, as of today, GPT-4 all the way. It's literally night and day in the testing that I've done in the prompts that I've been engineering for the Vault. But yeah, keep an eye on, get yourself onto, if you're interested in keeping up to date, get yourself onto, there's a number of newsletters. I can share some links to those if they'd be useful. That they literally just drop the AI news of the week, the too long don't view, the TLDV, of what's happening in the industry. But then I geek out over this stuff, just like I did with the Rubik's Cube, so.
Thank you. Anita has a question.
Fire away, Anita.
I do. Thank you. This is just brilliant and fascinating. But what about security and privacy? If somebody puts something in there that might be a trade secret, something that could lead people to their trade secret, how is privacy and security secured such that nobody can tap into anything that you're putting in there?
Okay, so the short answer is that be wary of putting sensitive information in when you're putting it into ChatGPT. The official line answer from OpenAI is it's all secure, it's all data encrypted, and it's entirely safe. That doesn't mean that things can't be hacked. So when you're entering prompts into ChatGPT, be mindful of that. So you don't put sensitive information of yours into ChatGPT. We're talking about things that you wouldn't mind being public facing here. Okay, so be wary of it. The official line is it's entirely safe because it's not, it's on an encrypted server, it's private, it's secure, but just be mindful. Don't share things with ChatGPT that you wouldn't share if you were sat chatting to somebody in a coffee shop where everybody could hear you. Okay.
Good point. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, in our last minute, I'm going to share with you our next sales roundtable is September 6th at 8 o'clock, September 6th, and we have another couple amazing guests that are going to really zero in on using AI for sales. So thank you, Colin. And Colin, can you put in chat the newsletter link? And thank you. So
absolute pleasure. I will share the slides. I'll share the links to the things that I've mentioned, the alternative AI solutions that you can play with, and also the newsletters that I alluded to, so that you can have a play around with those at your leisure. Yeah, for sure.
And your coordinates.
And what?
And your coordinates. Your contact information.
of
his
course.
contact.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, we're getting a lot of thank yous for everything. It's at the top of the hour. We'll see you next time. And I'm going to keep it open so that those of you that need to grab onto the saving the chat can grab onto it. Okay.
And Connie,
Yes.
one more thing. You mentioned about the next sales conversation. We also do a monthly marketing conversation. And the next one is September 13th. And that's with Doug Wendt. He's going to be talking about HubSpot and how to reach and use HubSpot effectively. So the 6th is the sales conversation that Connie mentioned. And the 13th of September is the HubSpot conversation. And then this week we have multiple events going on, including one, Connie, that you're involved with.
Yes, and it's going to be an in-person on Thursday in Phoenix, Arizona, 3 o'clock. We're going to go to a clothing manufacturer that has robots, a fashion show, and also, most importantly, celebrating 5 people that have been global leaders, 4 women, 1 man. So if you're in town, you must be there. It's one of a kind. You'll never have another opportunity to attend such a fascinating event. So make sure you're going to be there if you're in town. And so Colin, thank you again. Thank you for everything. It's
Pleasure.
so exciting.
Pleasure. Have fun with ChatGPT, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank
You're
you.
getting a lot of hand claps.
Nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connie.
Well, you're welcome. And I'm saving that chat too. So thank you.
Pleasure. I will put those links together and I'll email them over to you shortly. Okay.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks
so
again.
much. See you guys.